Today I'm back in the laundry room. Moving this door opening over has created a opportunity for a larger storage space, meaning this closet right here. It's going to go ahead and run all the way over to that wall right there, and it's just going to work out way better for us and give us a ton more storage in here. There's only one problem. I'm pretty sure the bottom of this wall down here is rotted. So I'm not going to show a bunch of tearing this out. We're just going to focus on that rotten wood down there at the bottom of the wall, if it's as bad as I think it is when we get there. Hi everybody, I'm Jim Dierdorf and this is Detroit DIY. Let me show you what's going on. This is the trim piece I pulled off from down there just a couple of weeks ago. And as you can see right here, it's got water damage. You look right here, I hope the lighting is good enough, I think it will be. At the bottom of that paneling, you can see water damage. So I am fairly certain there's going to be some damage down there inside this wall. So what I need to do is just get this closet ripped out of here and get this exterior wall exposed so I can see exactly what's going on down there. So I'm going to rip this entire thing out and then we're going to come back and take a look. I have the majority of the closet ripped out. I have a little bit of top plate left and those two studs right there. I'm in no rush to get them out because of the problem that I know I have right here. So you can see here in the drywall or in the fiberglass backing, critters have moved in at some point. Little bit of mold going on there. Critters moved in here, they ripped all that insulation down and out of there, and some more critter holes there, and kind of the same thing over here, more critter holes. So I'm going to go ahead and get this insulation all ripped out of here and see what the extent of this damage is. It's significant, so it's gonna, I'm sure that sill plate is shot. I can see most of it's gone right there. So I'm going to get some of this insulation out. I'm just going to cut it probably 2 feet up or something, however far it's damaged up, pull it out and then clean up the mess, and we'll have a better idea of what we're dealing with. Okay, I've got the insulation cut out. I ran to town, got my material, but at least what I know that I'm gonna need. We can see here that that section is almost completely rotted. That section is gone, non-existent. In fact, there's dirt and roots. The same thing here. Then the rest of the way it gets better, but it's still rotten as can be. So I'm gonna have to cut all of these 2x4s up a little bit to give me enough room to be able to get that sill board out of there and get the new one in. I need to take some drywall off in this corner right here so I can see exactly what's going on in there, because I don't think I'll be able to put it in entirety from the inside. Let's take a look outside. I've already got everything braced up. Outside I'll show you what I did so that I can cut all these studs and not worry about this wall dropping down. So outside I've screwed a 2x10 to the wall, and I do have some construction screws, and then I have some structural screws that I've also put in. Now those are run into the stud, so I'm not going to cut the stud off above that. I just need to go below. And as you can see, we have a little flashing right here where someone has pulled this off and probably done the same thing in the past. So I've got this 2x10 set up where when I cut, I'm going to cut right in the same place. Is this what I'm calling a permanent repair? No, not outside. Inside, yes. I would like to do something else out here on the exterior. If you watched, a week or so ago, you saw a video where I replaced all this fascia to get the gutters hung, and them are coming first thing in the spring. I'll get all the gutters on this side, but that's the whole reason this happened, is no gutters. So I am ready to go. I've got this end supported with two 2x6s down to the sidewalk, and unfortunately it's about 50 degrees today, and I think the high tomorrow is 27. So I know I am not going to get all this done in the next 2 hours, so I'll be out here in the cold working tomorrow. And this was no real surprise to me. I had a little rot in the T111 right there that I just stuck a little patch in, so I knew when I redid that room that I was going to find some rot in this wall. I just didn't know how much. So alright, let's get back inside, clean that grand mess up, get all that dirt out of there, get everything cleaned up where we can see what's going on. I've started cutting some of this out of here. I've actually found 2 anchor bolts holding things in place. Well, I guess one was rusted through. The other one is laying right there. It actually screwed out. So what I'm doing is I'm taking that piece of 2x4 right there that I cut square in my miter saw, and I'm marking these, and they're not all at the same height. There's some mold right here on this one that I want to get out of here, so I'm going to cut that up higher. Most of these down here are pretty clean, so I'm just going to cut them down about 4.5 inches, and that'll give me plenty of room to get my new sill plate in there. So I'm going to just keep cutting these off and try and get all this cleaned up. Hopeful I can see a little light here and there, so I don't know if I get it cleaned up good enough, maybe I'll stick some foil tape over it or something, keep the critters from coming in. But I'm just going to keep cutting these off. I'm using the Sawzall, and we're going to cut one right now. Just like that, guys. So I'm just going to keep going and try and get all of this cleaned up and prepped for tomorrow. So I think if I just cut a small hole in the siding outside over there and finish up some of the stuff that I need to from outside, I believe I can fit the new sill board in here, and then it'll just be a matter of cutting that off. I'll get all the studs and everything tightened up, and then I'll go outside and cut the sheathing. And they used builder board. We're not going back with builder board. That's what you see here. It's just all crumbly, fibrous board that I don't know why they ever used it, to be honest with you. I never liked it. But if you're going to do work like this, you're probably going to run into it. So at any rate, I'm just going to keep going, and then I'll be using my multi-tool to clean this out of here. There's dirt in here. There's roots. Don't ask me. I don't know how all that got in there, but it did. So at any rate, let's get it done. It is a new day. I have got the last of the rotten wood cut out over there. As you can see, I've got a big hole in the corner of my house, and it is, I don't know, 20 degrees outside right now, so I gotta keep moving here. I am going to, at this point in time, drill my anchor holes into this 2x4 that I have, and this is a ground contact 2x4. So I'm going to get these holes drilled, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do next, because I'm going to protect this 2x4. Even though it is a ground contact, I'm going to protect it a little bit, so hopefully nothing like this ever happens again. And yes, last night I put some foil tape on there just to kind of sort of cover up the big gaps, so that, you know, tons and tons of cold air wasn't coming in. And I laid a 2x4 against it to help it out just a little bit more. So I'm going to get these 1/2-inch holes drilled. I'm going to be using 3/8 anchor bolts, and that's probably the last, well, not the last, but close to the last thing I'm going to do, is anchor this back down to the foundation. And this used to be a porch, so that's part of the problem here too. You can see where they joint the concrete right there for the crack prevention, and you know, it's just was never, I'm not even sure there's a foundation underneath of this slab, which also isn't good. The only plus part about this is, I guess, is the slab is about 1 inch off of the sidewalk. If you can see the sidewalk right outside there, so that's the only plus thing. But alright, I'm going to drill these holes, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do to help this 2x4 live longer. Alright guys, so what I have here is some of the zip system flashing tape, and I'm going to use this flashing tape on the bottom and the outside edge of this 2x4 that I'm putting down there. If it comes over the top a little bit, I'm okay with that. I just want to make sure that the bottom and the full outside edge are covered. We cannot cover the entire board with this. That'd be great if we could, but we can't, because it needs to breathe. It's still a little bit wet, and throughout its life cycle it's going to need to absorb and expel some sort of moisture. It's just what wood does. If you prevent it from expelling that moisture entirely, it's just going to rot itself out. So let's get some of this on. This board is wet. I'm not expecting this to stick well, so I am going to put some staples in it. Doesn't really matter. The staples obviously are going to rust away over time. However, the tube, this is going to be on the bottom, so it's not like it's going to fall off. It's going to be pinched in there, and siding and everything else will be up against the face of the 2x4, so that also will not have the ability to go anywhere once everything's installed. So let's get some of this on. These flashing tapes are different in the sense that some of them are like foil tape. They have a backer on it that you have to peel, and some of them just are like a regular roll of tape. And that's what this zip tape is. It is just like a regular roll of tape, and it's obviously does not stick as well to itself. It does, but not as well. I'm gonna leave a little bit hang over the edge, because I want to also encapsulate the ends of this. So, and if you get some wrinkles in it, it's kind of what happens. So what I'm going to do now is just put a couple staples just to keep it from coming loose. It seems to be sticking to this okay, but I know it's wet. So alright, I am going to go ahead, complete this process covering this whole board, and both ends I'm also going to cover. So, and I am going to have to put a little more on here because it's only 3 3/4 of an inch wide, so it is not going to cover the face the way that I want it to, but that's okay. I'll cover that face up, and then I'll take the extra and just come back over the bottom side again, so part of it will be double on the bottom. No big deal. What I have here is some roofing tar, and not typically what you would do. And yes, I know they have sill sealer that you can put down. This is not a normal situation. Typically your foundation would be much higher than your sidewalk and not just 2 inches. So I'm concerned with water. It's always going to be an issue. So that's why I put the flashing tape on the 2x4, and that's why I'm going to use some roofing caulk down here on the floor itself, and I am going to set the board in it. I have a crack right here that I want to fill. It had a foil in it. I didn't think it did. So first I'm going to fill this crack up. I wish I could have put my backer board on first, or the GoBoard, but I can't. This stuff is so incredibly thick. That this caulk gun isn't liking it. It's just slipping. Alright, now I just want to lay a nice fat bead all the way down. I've got my roofing tar down there. I actually put 2 beads, and I am ready to get this in place. And yes, I've already test fit it to make sure that we're good. I don't want to drag that tar around too much, so I'm going to try and hold this in the air, get it pretty much where it needs to be, and then drop it down. Look at that. I've got some temporary blocking down there that I put in a little while back, and it's screwing me up a little bit. That's alright, we got it. I'm pretty happy with how that just sat in there. I'm going to go ahead and drill this anchor bolt right here and get it installed, and then I can tie this in real good. Then I'll do the same thing down there. Start working on getting that tied in real good, but our alignment is good. So we're just going to get us a hole drilled right in here. I don't know about this handle, it's kind of in my way. Maybe that'll be better. Much better. vacuum that out of there and get us an anchor in. Alright. We are tight. So I'm going to go ahead and get this end right here all tidied up. I've got my pieces cut for right here, and this is how I'm going to put every one of these back together. So I've got a short piece right here that I'm hoping will hammer into place. Just like that. Get it lined up right. Very nice. Then a couple of screws just to attach it to the board behind there. And one's going to be fine right in the middle. And then we're going to sister this piece on right over the top of them. So this will get a few more screws than that one did. Tap it in there. Very nice. And since this is already opened, if you wanted to, you could run new studs the full length. For what we're doing here, I don't have to. So I am just going to go ahead now and toenail this in with a couple of screws right here. And we are already looking a lot better than we were last night. So I'm just going to keep doing the exact same thing until I get all these wrapped up. Then we'll be ready to move to the outside. I have completed all the stud repairs in here. Everything is tied into the new sill board. I do not have the other 3 anchors in yet, and that's okay. That sill board had a little bow to it, and I let it bow out. So I'm hopeful. I had to pry some of the studs into place. So I'm hopeful that they are slowly but surely pulling that sill board back where it needs to be, and it looks like it is. I can see that it's getting closer to the tile the more pressure I get on it. So, and the board that I have screwed across, the 1x10 I have screwed across outside, is greatly helping me with that. So at this point in time, I am ready to go outside, make my cut, and pull all that rotten GoBoard or that rotten builder board and siding off, and then I've got that GoBoard to put on. So I'm gonna get out there, cut that, My neighbor's doing something with his lawnmower. I don't know what. There's still snow on the ground here and there, but I will record some of it. Dump the volume down when I edit it, so maybe you won't hear a lawnmower. I have my saw blade set at 1 1/8 inches, so it should get through both pieces here. Nick the stud just a little bit. When I put this 2x10 on, I leveled it. So this is my guide. I'm just going to run my saw right up against the bottom of that, and that is going to be my straight line. So it's going to be a little bit of a pain. I'm going to have to get the multi-tool out to finish up a little bit right here, but otherwise we should be good. Alright, now that I have a line I can measure to, I'm going to go cut my GoBoard just from the bottom of this to this line. Unfortunately, guys, I'm not going to be able to show a whole lot of this, the GoBoard going back on, because once I start pulling this off, there's just this 23-degree air that's going to be ripping into the house, and I'm going to need to tighten this up just as quick as I can. So I've already got the GoBoard cut to length, and now what I need to do is just pry off this T111 siding, hopefully leaving the builder board in place for a minute so that I can regroup and get everything ready to go there. So excellent, that's just what I wanted. Now some of that builder board is also very degraded, but it's still going to allow me to have a little bit of break from the cold air going in. So, alright, I'm just going to keep ripping this off. Oh, I got a screw down. No, it's not into anything. And it's not breaking like that because it's all garbage. It's breaking like that because T111 is super thin right there. Actually, there's nothing even left holding that piece on. Nice. All right. What I haven't done is cut my GoBoard to length, so at least now I can get a measurement of the first piece and work on getting that on there. So I'm just going to measure it and get it cut. And I just want to say the GoBoard, you just cut it with a razor knife. I'll show you, it's simple, so simple to cut. Cuts easier than drywall, really. So, alright, I'm going to get this measured. Looks like about 4 feet to me. Get it cut off and get it on there. I've got the GoBoard in place, and now before it gets any colder, it's cooling off fast here. I'm going to get the siding cut, and then I'll just bring it in the house and get the bottom primed and a little bit of the back side at the bottom primed. Probably prime the whole thing, and then I can just get them on here primed, and I won't have to worry about getting a paint color on them immediately. So, and next week is supposed to be a lot warmer than this week, but I'm going to go ahead and get that cut now and get it ready to go on tomorrow. I've got one piece of my T111 primed. Unfortunately, I could not find what was currently on the house, and this is just temporary anyway, but I don't know how long exactly temporary is going to be. It might be a year before I get back to do this, so I want it similar to a permanent temporary. I don't care that this siding doesn't match the siding that's there. I know that it's going to be sealed up nice, and I won't have to worry about any other problems happening. So I did take some zip tape and taped the seam of the builder board to the GoBoard. Now the GoBoard is a pretty unique board. It's very lightweight. It's fiberglass coated with a styrene type product in the center of it. Not quite like styrofoam, it's much tighter. Not a bunch of air bubbles, but it is a styrofoam-ish type product in the middle of it. And it's waterproof. So it's used in showers, it's used in all kinds of applications, and it can be used on the outside of the house. And that's what we've got going on here. Well, it's up against the studs anyway. So I've got the rest of my anchor bolts in, and what I'm going to start working on now is the insulation. So I think for the most part I'm going to pull all this insulation out and redo it, because you can see here there's a 2.5 inch gap at the top. There's a critter hole right there. This is from critters that have been in the wall in the past. I've drug that insulation over there. This piece is probably one of the better ones, at least it fits in the panel okay. That one has been eaten at the top, and the rest of these I don't know. So I'm going to pull these last two little pieces of drywall off. I'm going to leave the piece on the ceiling, so we can patch that up as need be. This will have to get patched up as well, and then this might get moved back this way just a little bit. I'm not sure. I have to get my laser in here and get it set up before I frame in for the new closet. So it will have 6-foot bifold doors. It's going to go from there all the way back over to here with two 6-foot bifold doors, and then it'll have an open area for brooms and stuff like that with a couple shelves above it, and then the rest of it will be shelves. Whether it's separated, I believe, into 3 sections is what my wife wants. So, and then it's just dependent on what we put in for shelving. So I'm going to tear that drywall out, and then I'm going to start on this insulation, and I'll show you guys the insulation. I've still got one more piece of T111 to prime. Once this dries and I can set it to the side, I'm going to bring the other piece in and get started on it, kind of while I muddle through some of this stuff. So I will come back when we are ready to get some insulation in. So now it's just a matter of pulling all this old insulation out of here. Hopefully no critters fly out. I don't think they will, but you never know. So this is interesting because a critter has eaten a hole in the fiberboard to access the attic, I guess. I'm not sure what's going on there. That should actually be the outside. So, oh, that goes into the eave, I'm willing to bet. So I did see when I redid the eave, you saw that video last week, I believe, you'll see that I did find some rodent stuff in there. And this is exactly why I wanted to just pull this insulation out. You can see where chipmunks, whatever, have just eaten a tunnel right through the insulation. So I'm not going to say that the insulation is degraded or not what it used to be, but it's definitely it's compromised. Not only is it compromised, it's probably nasty. So and I'm fairly certain this one is also going to have it has more than trails. It's been eaten, holes in it, just not good. Alright guys, I'm just going to keep pulling this out. I am going to go through and remove all these staples, clean everything up. I'm going to seal that hole up, probably with some of that zip tape, that flashing tape. I'll just put that over that hole. Hopefully no rodents want to eat it. I don't see how one will ever get back in here again, but you never know. So I'm going to close that off, get the rest of this out of here, then we'll come back and I'll show you how we're going to cut this stuff and put it back in. My wall is 88 inches high, and what I like to do is cut the insulation, when I'm doing it, about 1.5 inches too long, and then that allows me to just kind of make sure that it's tight in the wall cavity without packing it. What I have here is just a little scrap piece of plywood. I've got me a little mark on the insulation. I press it down where it's almost smashed flat, and then just come in here with the razor knife and cut it. Now insulation this is a brand new blade, insulation will dog your blades out pretty quick. So sometimes you have to cut 2 directions, but there we have it. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and cut all my pieces and then we'll start installing. With all my insulation cut, I'm ready to get it in. I already got these 2 pieces in just because they were laying in my way. I still have to cut one more piece down there vertically like these. And to cut them vertically is basically the same as cutting them to length. I like to take my board, press them down, and cut them. So if these are a little bit too long, and what I mean by that is when I get to the bottom there's some excess, which is fine. I take my razor knife, I cut the paper, and then I just kind of crinkle it a little bit and get it in there very nice and tight. So we have on the insulation these little flaps that fold out, and this is what we're going to use to staple it to the studs. Oh yeah, and up here I put some steel wool, some number 3 steel wool in that hole, and then I put some of that flashing tape over it to help hold it in place. So rodents do not like steel wool, so I'm hopeful, I don't know how one would have gotten in from there, but if they did, they won't be getting in again. So what I like to do is just tuck it in at the top, push it up nice and tight, climb up there and get a couple of staples in, and then just start tucking it in and stapling it on the way down. Now if you remember, the piece I took out of this cavity had about a 2-inch gap at the top. So in order to rectify that, we want to make sure that we're nice and tight to the top. Even if we have to fold the insulation over a little bit so that we get nice and tight to the top, just like that. Exactly what we want. Go ahead and tuck that in there. Side's looking really good. Sometimes you'll see where people will just fold this over the face of the stud and staple it there. That's okay too. It's not my favorite method because it does kind of muck with you a little bit when you're putting the drywall on. These are 3/8 inch staples and they go in all the way, so kind of why I like using the 3/8 instead of like the 1/2 inch or something like that where they wind up sticking out a little bit. Alright, that's all there is to it. So I'm going to finish getting the rest of this in here. Then we'll be ready for drywall. And tomorrow it's supposed to be warmer. My two pieces of T111 are primed. Almost all the way dry. I see a little shiny stuff on them still. So that'll be going on tomorrow. I'll take the bracing off tomorrow. Caulk any little holes that I need to caulk in. Caulk this seam. So hopefully tomorrow this will pretty much be a wrap. I'm not going to do anything in this video showing the drywall going on because we've already done that in past videos. So once I get this complete, it's just the outside that needs to get tidied up. I currently have 2 nails holding this first piece on because I need to get this one behind this one in order to get them to line up right. I am using ridged deck nails to hold this on. I did not have any siding nails, so this is just a good solid galvanized nail that's going to work for quite some time. Now I will be doing some caulking here. Not the best weather for it, but irregardless, we're going to be doing it. Alright. And yes, I'm using my ball peen shop hammer because I don't have a flat faced hammer here. I want to pull this up as far as I can. Now it's just about a few more nails. Then I am going to come through and caulk this seam. I know it's a little cold, but it's better than nothing. So hopefully it'll be just fine. It's supposed to just get warmer from today forward. So I've got all the new T111 on and caulked. So I'm happy with what I've got here. It's a nice little temporary repair. So gutters next, and then we'll worry about long term. I put the trim pieces back on, even though it's a little bit rotten down there. I keep this gate tied to those screws for my dogs so that they've learned they can walk on the ice and they can go around the fence, and the highway's right there. So we got to keep the dogs safe, so this is how we do it. But at any rate, I've got the drywall on. Let's take a look. Drywall is all screwed on, and yes, there's things aren't quite perfect, so I got a good sized gap up there at the top. No problem, I will fill that with some 20-minute mud. I did not put this piece in yet because I don't know exactly where my framing is going to land. I'm thinking the framing that's here, I'm tearing all that out, but the new stuff is going to have to move in just a little bit towards the other wall, maybe like an inch or inch and a quarter or something like that. What I want to have happen is for the drywall to be flush with this opening, so that then I can just, when I put my trim board on here, whatever that might be, some pine or whatever, I'll just leave it stick over a little bit further, and then that will all just be tied in, and of course that up there will get taped. Unfortunately, this putting this all closet wasn't originally in the plans, or I would have not drywalled this, but it's no big deal. The 2x4 is going to go right on top of that drywall. I'm not going to cut all that out for it, so, and it's not the end of the world. So we've got more videos coming. We're going to get the closet framed in. We are going to repair some tiles, or replace some tiles. I have to make sure, because I'm going to need 5 of them, so I have to make sure I have 5. I'm pretty sure I do. If not, I might have to get creative over here, but I don't think I can, because this has to move back slightly, and it might only be enough to where the trim and stuff will cover that up. I'm not sure, so time will tell on this one right here. But at any rate, all of these right here have, these 2 or 3 have to get replaced. So future video. Yep, I got me a hat on. I've been outside mucking around for a couple of hours now, so my hair is horrible, so the hat's staying on right now. Let's talk money real quick. I've got about $240 in this repair, and about 26 hours of time at this point in time. So if you had, and this is only an 8-foot section of wall basically, so if you had some rotten wall, like an 8-foot section like this, and you hired someone in to do it, we'd be about $3,100 in right now, 31 to 35, and then, you know, to finish the drywall is going to be another probably 8 hours of time. So you can see that it can stack up quick. This is the whole reason for these videos. I want to instill the confidence in you to be able to do projects like this on your own and save yourself $4 grand, right? $250 versus $4 grand, a little sweat off, you know, your back, and you got it done. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, click on one of those 2 videos. It's going to pop up below me. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would greatly appreciate it if you would consider doing so. And always remember to respect the power of your power tools. We'll see you soon.